I started running in January of 2023, and throughout the year, I became very consistent with my training, and I ended the year having ran a total of 1,027 miles, which for me was an accomplishment that I'm quite proud of. So today, I want to go all the way back to why I started running this year, look through some of the highs and lows of the year, and briefly discuss what my plans are for 2024. Growing up, I always hated running and was never very good at it at all. But at the beginning of my senior year of high school, I did start running a little bit, maybe 5 or 10 miles a week, but that really only lasted a few months. Around Christmas time, I ran two 5K races, and in both of those races, I came in just below 25 minutes, which for me, I was pretty happy with at the time, but that's really nothing special for most people, I would say. Following the end of 2019, I didn't run at all until the beginning of 2023, and the reason that I started running this past year is that I heard about something called the 4x4x48 challenge that David Goggins puts on every year. And what this is that you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. So you end up running 48 miles in just 2 days, but you have to do it all throughout the night and the daytime. I thought this sounded like a cool challenge to do, but I knew there was absolutely no way I would be able to do this without any training, since I wasn't very good at running to begin with, and I hadn't done any running in a long time. So that's what I started doing in January of 2023. I just started training and doing some running on a consistent basis. And by the first weekend in March, I was surprised to find that the challenge really wasn't incredibly difficult for me. It certainly wasn't a walk in the park, but I didn't really have any major issues, and I finished strong with my 12th 4-mile run being the fastest time by a significant amount. And if you're interested, I did make a video vlogging that experience that you can watch. Following this challenge, I was sort of toying with the idea of running a marathon, so I kept up my running training, and at the beginning of May, I did attempt to run a marathon, but it was just in a training environment. It wasn't an actual official race. The route that I did run was the course for the Flying Pig Marathon, which is Cincinnati's marathon that it hosts in May. I wasn't able to participate in the actual race because I was going to be out of town that weekend, but in the end, I ended up failing miserably on that attempt, and I stopped around the 18-mile mark. I think I was physically capable of running a marathon at that point in time, but I made a few big mistakes. First of all, my goal for the race was 4 hours, which is a pace of 9 minutes, 9 seconds per mile, which was much too aggressive for me and my fitness level at that point in time, combined with the type of course it was. The Flying Pig course is a bit hilly and has over 1,000 feet of elevation gain, so it's not one of the easiest marathons, I think. And my second big mistake is that I wasn't fueling enough throughout the run to replenish my electrolytes and keep some carbs in my muscles. So after 2 hours or so, I started to really struggle and started cramping up eventually, and that's when I kind of quit. So that was definitely a low point for me, but just a week later, I was in Omaha, Nebraska for the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting, and on the same day as the Flying Pig Marathon was happening back in Cincinnati, they had a 5K in Omaha that was put on by Brooks Running that I participated in. My goal for the race was 21 minutes, but I ended up running a little bit slower at 21 minutes, 11 seconds, so I was a little bit disappointed that I missed my goal, but overall I was happy because that was by far the fastest 5K I had ever run, and I did average below a 7-minute mile. Over the summer, I moved to the Houston, Texas area for an internship, and during that time, I did keep running, but that was a big challenge. After the first few weeks, it was pretty much 100 degrees every single day with a minimum of 60 or 70% humidity, so it was a bit of a struggle, and I was definitely running slower, but I still managed to log some miles there. I got into a routine of running maybe 6 or 8 miles in the mornings before work, and I do that maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And then sometime during June or July, I got the idea in my head that I could run 1,000 miles in 2023. I'm a big numbers guy, and I have a spreadsheet with all my runs on it. So I looked at how far I'd run thus far in the year, and then I calculated that I would have to run about 22 miles every single week for the rest of the year in order to reach 1,000 miles for the year. And that didn't sound too terribly difficult for me, so I began running 22 miles every single week. I was usually pretty spot on the 22-mile mark, but if I had to run a little bit more or a little bit less, I would always opt for running just a little bit more. And another thing I did when I got to Texas at the beginning of the summer is I tested my mile time, and I ended up clocking a 6-minute, 16-second mile, which I was fairly happy with, and that led me to setting a goal of a 6-minute mile by the end of the year. Throughout the summer, I did have some quite grueling runs in the afternoon heat where it was really all I could do to maintain an 11 or 12-minute mile. And during the morning runs, I would be close to an 11-minute mile in order to keep my heart rate in the aerobic range. So that was definitely not the highest point of the year in terms of running for me. When I got back to Cincinnati in the fall, I kept up the 22 miles a week routine without too much issue. And at the beginning of November, I did finally take a week off in order to deload and recover a little bit before our last big rowing regatta of the season. But this really didn't put me behind schedule at all for my 1,000-mile goal, because every week I usually ended up running a little bit more than 22 miles. So by that point in time, I was already ahead of schedule. Soon after I got back to Cincinnati in the fall, I did do another mile test, and this time I did it on a track, which probably helped a little bit. For this mile, I ended up running 5 minutes 56 seconds, which I was really happy with yet again, and surpassed my goal of 6 minutes. In December, my parents and I traveled to Hawaii to visit my brother over Christmas. He's stationed there in the Army, and my birthday is pretty close to Christmas, so I ended up turning 22 while we were in Hawaii, and so I decided to run 22 miles on the day of my birthday. This was a great experience and was really fun for me, being in Hawaii and being able to just be in nature and exploring the scenery while I was running these 22 miles. I recently posted a video about that run, so definitely check that out if you're interested. And after that run, my total mileage for 2023 was at 996 miles. So just a few days later, I went on another short run and officially reached the 1,000-mile goal that I had set out for myself during the summer. And just 2 weeks and a few runs later, 2023 came to an end. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I ran a grand total of 1,027 miles this past year, which I'm very proud of. Total running time for the year was 178 hours, 54 minutes, which means I ran at an average pace of 10 minutes, 27 seconds throughout those runs. So I'm definitely not going to break any speed records anytime soon. And total elevation gain across those runs was 72,592 feet. With those stats, I feel confident that I can say that I'm now a runner. I may not be the fastest runner, but I'm a runner nonetheless. Looking forward to 2024, I really only have 2 running specific goals. First of all, I'm going to do the 4x4x48 challenge yet again, but I'm going to make it a little bit harder this year by running 5 miles every 4 hours, which means I'll run a total of 60 miles across that 48 hours rather than just 48 miles. And secondly, I'm going to run the Flying Pig Marathon this May, which will be my first ever marathon, and my goal for that race is going to be 4 hours, which, like I said, is a 9-minute, 9-second average pace per mile. Although I think I can definitely run a marathon at this point, I'm still not exactly sure that I'll be able to hold on to that 9-minute pace for the whole race, but I do know that I'll be a lot more prepared and a lot more dialed in when it comes to nutrition and hydration, because that's something I have been working on and I have a lot more experience with that now. Aside from that, I don't have any real mileage goals or anything like that for 2024. I'm going to be hiking the Appalachian Trail this summer, so I'll probably be doing some hiking with a loaded pack to train for that this spring, and so I think that hiking will probably help my running at least some, and my running will probably help my hiking a little bit too. 2023 was a great year for me in terms of running and really all of my fitness endeavors, and I'm looking forward to what 2024 has in store and sharing some of my experiences on this YouTube channel. I really appreciate everyone watching to the end of the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.